What's up, y'all? You're listening to the Extra Point College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Karnes, joined as always by my co-host, Daniel Hammock. Today, congrats to whomever we're going to crown, because we're going to crown a national champion today on the podcast. This is our national picks episode. We're going to talk, we have our XPR. We're going to get to that very shortly and what that is, and we'll dive through that. How many teams can actually win the national championship this year? I think is an important one. We'll dive into that. Our conference championship picks, our college football playoff picks, our national champion picks, Heisman Coach of the Year. It's all being awarded. Maybe we should send a trophy out to the schools and players and coaches who win these preseason awards we're going to give out on this episode. We've made it through our conference previews, Daniel. We're now going to get to some national picks. We'll have a fun gap filler episode next week, and then the episode after that, we're going to pick real games, talk real college football. Enough talk. We're going to actually get some football here in a couple weeks. But, dude, this one's exciting.
Yeah, this is kind of like, all right, all the hay's in the barn, all the actual like breakdowns of each of the teams before the year has started. Now it's like, all right, let's see where all this goes. And then, we're just inching closer to a game week where we're going to be able to start making these picks and just nail this down, man. I'm excited to start to see this landscape. We're about to ask this question about how many teams can win a national title. Jacob, this landscape I think is more open than it's been in a while. But I think we're going to get some clarity in those first couple weeks.
We're at least going to think we get some clarity in the first couple weeks, right? I mean, look, this is from me last year when USC beat LSU. I said, quote, these are two playoff teams. So sometimes you learn a lot, sometimes you don't. Everyone's going to think they learn a lot. Maybe they will. Let's start with Daniel. It's been gone for a couple years now, but we're bringing it back. Our extra point rankings. You and I, look, we've become old men. We're both dads of multiple kids at this point.
Right.
You've gotten over the hill of 30. I'm approaching 30. I'm excited for 30. We love and miss the BCS. I think it's the best way to rank teams because it combined both human input and cold hard computers to give you an unbiased look at what are the best teams in the country. We set out to recreate that with our extra point ranking, our XPR. We have our preseason version. We'll release the next version of this after the week 1 games have been played. We'll get some real data to get these computers going. We utilize just transparently the best computer models out there, that being, I'll list a few. K Ford Ratings, friend of the show, follow him on Twitter. Bill Conley's SP Plus, he's at ESPN, and Brian Freemau's FEI, as well as a few other computers to help us get there. And then you and I get the human input. That's what makes it ours, right? Not just combining the computers, but a few. I'll highlight the top 10. We have this posted to our Instagram page at the Extra Point Pod. It's also on my Twitter account at Jacob Karnes with the K, your Twitter account, Daniel, at Deep South Daniel. Our XPR preseason top 10. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can also see this on the screen. But Texas, Ohio State, Georgia, Penn State, Bama, let's round out the top 5. Oregon, Notre Dame, Clemson, LSU, Michigan. Daniel, even outside of that top 10, are there any teams that surprise you or might surprise someone else as they see where they are in our preseason XPR?
I got some comments on Facebook, so that's always fun.
Okay.
An old work associate is a Penn State fan, was upset that they were not in the top 3. And I was like, well, good news is they're 3 adjacent. They are 4, so nothing to fret over.
Right.
Of course, he's assuming we put Georgia there on purpose. I told him I had Penn State number 2 in my personal ranking, but it is what it is. My family was pleased to see Georgia Tech in the top 25. They come in at number 24, so they're very excited to see that. They were surprised. They said, you're very kind to have us there. I would say that maybe some people who have not been dialed in maybe would be surprised to see either Florida at number 13 potentially, or maybe A&M at number 14. They might think that they should be a little bit lower. But I mean, this is a power rating, and both of those teams are very good. That's kind of what this whole ranking system is about. So I think those are probably what people probably jump out to them.
Which, and to be fair, Florida at 15 in the AP poll, and Texas A&M 19 in the AP poll that came out earlier this week. Look, it's preseason rankings. You're splitting hairs here. I do like that ours, Daniel, though, is not just an opinion. Here's what I hate about the AP poll sometimes is I'll hear stuff like, well, Florida's good, but look at the schedule in regards to like, that's why I'm going to leave them unranked. And I just don't think you should factor in schedule when you're considering
This
what
isn't a postseason ranking. Yeah.
Right. It's a preseason, and it goes back to, our friend Josh Pate, one of the biggest lies in college football. You are what your record says you are. And I get it. Look, if you have a 4-8 team in the top 25, that's ridiculous, right? No matter the conference. But
right.
His example, if you play the Chiefs, the Falcons, and the Dolphins in 3 weeks and go 2-1, and someone else plays, Woodstock High School, Union Grove High School, and then, a U12 flag football team and goes 3-0, that, we're comparing apples and oranges here. And the schedule differences are not that dramatic in college football, but not all schedules are created equal. So I don't like that logic. So I like that we've taken that out of it completely. Something that will be baked into this as we get into the season 2 will be ESPN uses the term strength of record, but basically the strength of schedule will be accounted for, right? You losing, a 6-2 team versus an 8-0 team, we will account for who they've played with our ranking, which I'm excited for. I do want to
Jacob,
mention,
does that make that
team that I thought? Go ahead.
Sorry, we're talking over each other, guys. This is the preseason. We're still getting it together. Okay, listen. Sorry.
That's right.
I was gonna say with this XPR, since we're relying on computers, and me and you are the human element. Does that mean that me and you are the coaches in the AP poll? Yep. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's right. Which one do you want to be?
I don't know. Like, I feel like the AP poll is a bunch of like stuck up writers, and the coaches are a bunch of guys who only watch their team. So like they only have their own interests in heart. So it's like, I don't know which one's better. I guess I'll be the AP and you be the coaches.
We'll flip a coin. No, it's great. I will say, okay, team that I thought was underrated by the AP poll, USC. We have them at 21. Daniel, I had them on my personal rankings, I think at 12. I think
oh, wow.
They were in the top 15, I know. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid with USC here. A team that I think was way too high would be Illinois. They're right beside each other. Again, I think this is here's a problem I have with the AP poll. I think there's a lot of voters who just want to give credit to teams, and this is going to sound like I am a terrible person, to teams that just win games. I think there should be some credit given, but like, I just don't think Illinois is like the 12th best team in the country. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that there's only 11 teams better than Illinois. I think Illinois is going to be a very good team this year. I have them. I can't remember if I have them over or under. I have them at 8-9 wins. I think they're going to be very good. But again, this is why I like I rank my teams, Daniel, based on who I think would win if they played tomorrow. And as we get into the season, I will factor in record. I'll factor in head to head. Whether or not I think Texas A&M is good, if they're 4-8, they've proven on the field they're not very good, right?
Right.
So on-field results will be factored in, but this will be fun, man. I'm glad this is back. Again, follow us on Instagram. You can see this there. You can argue with us about which teams we have rated too high, and me and Daniel will comment back and say, that's the computer's fault for a team being rated too high, even if it was our fault that they were that high. So
we'll say, actually,
I want all the credit and none of the blame.
Yeah.
Daniel, an important question, and I feel like Cole Cubic stole my thunder here. He put it out on Twitter today. How many teams in 2025 can win the national title? I have my answer. If you're listening or watching right now, think to yourself, this year, you and I both said it seems very wide open this year. How many teams not can make the playoff, not can make the championship game, but can actually hold the trophy at the end of a 15 or 16 game season, 17 game potentially, if you have a team like that. Did Ohio State play 17 games? I can't remember. No, because they missed out on the conference championship. But long season. Daniel, how many teams can win the national title? And if you want to go as far as which teams you think those are, I'd love to hear.
Yeah, I mean, Bud Elliott would say 18 because there's 18 on the blue chip ratio, and so that's always his metric. Now he doesn't say that, but he says that's the minimum, I guess, qualifying line.
Yeah.
But I would say, have a probable chance of being able to do it. That's maybe still being too generous to what I have a very big field. So I actually have our entire top 10 of the XPR plus Texas A&M. So 11 teams I have could win the national championship this year. I could realistically see each of these teams with their roster, if they caught fire, like if each of these teams went at 100%, which it is what that's never going to happen. But if any one of those 11 teams reach their full potential, I think a national championship is very much in the cards.
So on the surface, 11 teams. I love it. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, comment on here. Spotify, you can comment as well. Is Daniel correct? Is it more than 11? Is it less? So I started thinking like you, and honestly, of course, I had to make like a little chart on Google Sheets to actually get some data on this. I did the same thing last year, and I only got 2 teams when I went through the whole thing. I've adjusted because I missed a key piece. So here's my new scientific, here's how it's going to happen preseason. All right. We start with the blue chip ratio. We start with 18 teams. It's a great place to start. You have to have a minimum talent basis to win the Natty. I think you need an elite defensive line. And I'm going to say elite as a top 10 defensive line in the country to win. All right. So I eliminated at that point. We got down to 10 teams, obviously top 10 with an elite defensive line. I then think you need, and here's what I changed a little bit, an elite quarterback or an elite offensive line. I think you need one or the other, because as good as he played, I wouldn't consider Will Howard an elite quarterback. All right. I wouldn't consider J.J. McCarthy an elite quarterback in 2023. But they both had elite offensive lines they played behind, and they ran their offense well. So with that, I eliminated 1 team. We're down to 9. And this is science, is data. In the playoff era, you need a top 10 offense, advanced metrics wise. So we'll use SP plus, a top 10 offense, or the number 1 defense to compensate. So you'd have to have a top 10 offense or the number 1, not number 2, number 1 defense. Same 9 teams made that qualification. And then with defense, you need a top 6 defense or the number 1 offense. So I've made it down, Daniel, to 6 teams I think can win the national title based on that. Now, I'm going to eliminate one because I'm going to tell you one of them that I don't think can do it this year. Here's the first 5. It's not going to surprise you. Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Ohio State. Penn State did make this list. All right. I think this is going to be the best team James Franklin's had. Do you want to guess who the 6th team was?
Oregon? I don't know.
It was not Oregon. And that's how I thought it was going to be. It was Miami. And this is because preseason metrics still have Miami as the number 1 offense. The offense was so good last year. It's not projecting any drop-off. I think by week 3, we're going to see a drop-off in that they won't have – I'm not saying they're not going to have a top 5 offense or top 3. I don't think they're going to have the number 1 rated offense in the country. So I think that will disqualify them pretty early on. I'm curious to keep up with this throughout the season and see if this list, how it grows or shrinks as different teams get better or worse compared to last year. But according to preseason numbers, it's 6 teams. Those are the 6. I'm putting an asterisk by Miami. If you gave me like even money, the first 5 versus the field, I would take the first 5 and say that I think one of Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, Penn State wins it all this year. Because again, I think you have to factor in too, Daniel, like this is where blue chip ratio comes in, but also like the higher up percentage you go, the more it's going to matter, because we saw it with Ohio State last year. You now have to go and beat You have to win potentially 4 games against these other teams that are blue chip teams, like with elite lines of scrimmage. Like Ohio State had to go and beat Oregon. They had to go and beat Texas. They had to go and beat Tennessee. Like they had to go and beat Notre Dame. Like that. Like they won games against all these teams. So some of the teams you mentioned, like I don't see, and this is where coaching comes into. I think like as much as I love LSU, do I see Brian Kelly winning 4 games in the postseason against these teams? I don't see it. I'm gonna have to see it to believe it. But again, it's why it was much easier when you only had to win 1, right?
Right.
Anyway, that was a long-winded answer to say I think it's 6 teams. You think it's 11? What do you think? Let us know. I do think it's pretty wide open though. There's previous years in the 4-team era. Well, it depends, man. I'm like in the 4-team era, I'd say it's more wide open because if you make it, then you only have to win 2 games. Does it shrink now because more of these blue bloods are going to make the playoff?
Right.
And then it's
so
like you have to have the depth to go. We'll see if my theory is proven right. I think in the first 10 years of the expanded playoff, less different teams will win a championship in the first 10 years of the 14 playoff. We'll see. Let's dive into this season, Daniel. We've talked through each conference. Who wins each conference? Let's start with the ACC. Who do you have as your ACC champion for 2025?
So championship game. Are we doing championship game as well, or just champion?
Yeah. If you have the matchup, give me that too.
Okay, yeah, I have, because that's where my surprises might be, where the winners may be chalk.
Yes.
So
hit me with it.
Clemson will win the ACC over Florida State. I have Florida State in the ACC championship.
Really?
Yeah. It's not like, if you look back like, oh, Florida State, but it's like after the year they had last year, I don't know. I think that they can flip the switch and get back. One of their toughest games is out of conference against Alabama. So I think they've got a pretty favorable conference schedule, and I expect them to be much better offensively. I think that's going to be a big deal. But Clemson's going to be too much. I think Clemson's a very, very good team. Obviously, we have them in our top 10 preseason, XPR. But Clemson wins the ACC.
I'm with you on Clemson. I have them beating Miami. I've got Clemson at 12-1 coming out of the ACC. This is the reigning ACC champ. They returned everybody. I think this will be Dabo's best team since 2020. Trevor's last year, an elite back 7 on defense. I don't think anybody's stopping them in the ACC this year. I think they're going to run roughshod through that conference. Give me the Tigers in the ACC this year. How about the Big 12, Daniel? I think there's about 14 teams that you could say win it, and I'll say, yep, sure. This is the one I'm least confident in. Who you got?
Yeah, it's tough. I almost wanted to just pick the game that's the first game of the year, which is Iowa State versus Kansas State. I'm high on both of those teams. I do have Iowa State making it, and they're playing Arizona State, so recycling that from last year. But I have Iowa State coming out on top and winning the Big 12. Really high on Rocco Becht, and I just think that having the best quarterback in the conference and having a pretty good schedule is going to lead them to the Big 12 championship and ultimately the playoff.
I also went with a team that I think has the best quarterback in the conference. So some disagreement there. I do have Arizona State playing in the Big 12 championship. I have them playing against Kansas State. I have Kansas State coming out and winning the Big 12 this year. I think Avery Johnson's going to finally have his breakout year. Again, this staff chose him over Will Howard, let Will Howard go to Ohio State. Will Howard won a natty. The ceiling is still there. They have an elite run defense. They've got to replace some of the back end, but a running back room that can rotate. This is going to be a conference of small margins. I don't think anybody's getting out with less than 3 losses. Again, if you told me Kansas State, Arizona State, Texas Tech, Baylor, Iowa State, any of those teams, I'm just like, yep, sure. I can hear an argument and get behind and support any of those teams winning the conference. Give me Kansas State to have a bounce back year after a disappointing season last year by their standard. The Big Ten, Daniel. A lot of people
Yeah,
picking Penn State preseason. Who you got?
yeah. I like Penn State. Obviously, I had them number 2 in my personal rankings that went into our XPR. We have them number 4 as a composite here. I like what they do. The biggest question, obviously, is going to still be receiver. Losing Tyler Warren, everything like that. I'm excited to see what they do. I have Penn State in the championship game. I have them rematching Oregon, who they played in the game last year, and obviously Oregon won last year. I actually have Penn State winning the Big 12 or Big 10 championship, excuse me, this year over Oregon, not Oregon State. I think that they're going to have enough. It's going to be a tough, like Ohio State not making it is tough for me here, but I had them 10-2 in the regular season. I still have them in the playoff. I think Oregon's path is the easiest, so that's why I think they make it. I don't necessarily think they're the second best team in the Big Ten. I just think that they have the easiest path to getting to this game. But yeah, give me Penn State. They're going to be top 2 seed in the playoff with the Big Ten championship.
Sorry, who'd you pick to win?
Penn State.
Penn State over Oregon. I've got Ohio State over Oregon. I also have Oregon in the Big Ten championship. This is still the best wide receiver room in the country, with probably the best player in the country, including in that. It's a blue chip secondary led by Caleb Downs. They're replacing a couple guys, but again, these are guys whose names you remember from 2 years ago because they were 4 and 5 stars. And I think this is a team that, similar to last year, outside of the Michigan game, that by November will be clicking and ready for a playoff run. And given that they get into this game, they click and win this game. So give me Ohio State over Oregon for the Big Ten champion. We then move to the SEC. Daniel, who do you have out of the Southeastern Conference?
Yeah, I think people are going to get tired of this matchup because it's already happened twice last year, and then it's going to happen, I think, twice again this year. Texas and Georgia in the SEC championship again. And again, this is not really like Alabama is similar to me to Ohio State, where I think they're going to be 10-2. I think they're going to be in the playoff. They've got a tough schedule. I just think that Texas and Georgia slightly better, maybe, and the ball may lean their way just a touch. So that's the game. I actually have Georgia in the regular season beating Texas, and then I have Texas winning the rematch in the SEC championship, kind of getting their first win against the Dogs since joining the SEC. And so I have Texas as the SEC champion.
I've got the same matchup. I've got Georgia and Texas again for a second time in a season, back-to-back years. Look, man, I know that we grew up in Georgia. We've grown up Georgia fans. This is Kirby Smart's most talented roster on paper. I see this team getting back to its Kirby identity as a team, where they're going to run the ball well and play really, really good defense. This is a 2023 Michigan, 2024 Ohio State type of team to me. And I know those are 2 national champions, but just like not, I don't think Gunnar Stockton's going to light the world on fire. I don't think he's going to be in New York for a Heisman ceremony, but man, the roster around him just is elite. Give me Georgia over Texas. I think he gets him twice this year. Maybe they lose the game in Athens, but I like Georgia to come out of the SEC more times than not. I think people are not giving. I don't think Kirby's getting enough credit for this roster and this team, or they're about to go. So give me the Dogs in the SEC. That leads us to the college football playoff. Daniel, just run through your 1 through 12, and then give me your. If you have each matchup, just run all the way to your natty, or just get to your Final Four and natty. How does your playoff look?
Yeah, so 1 through 12, I'll go quick, but Texas coming out of the SEC, number 1. Penn State coming out of the Big Ten, number 2. And then I have the losers of each of those games. I have Oregon at number 3. I have Georgia at number 4. I have Alabama right there at number 5. Then I have the ACC champion Clemson, number 6. I have Ohio State at large, number 7. Iowa State, Big 12 champion, number 8. Notre Dame at large, number 9. Texas A&M, number 10. They
Wow.
crashed the playoff. LSU, number 11. You got some SEC teams that are just rattling home. You got 5 SEC teams this year, and that rounds out number 12 is Tulane. Um, that's my group of 5, former SEC team, Tulane
Rep.
making it. Yep, that's my 12. And then you go through I actually have Ohio State winning and Alabama winning their opening matchups, um, ultimately leading to a Texas and Oregon. I don't have all my matchups written out. I did not know we were doing that,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I had both of
That's
those
okay.
teams winning their opening matchups. I have Texas versus Oregon in the national championship. I do have Texas winning it all. Oregon has the easiest path on my board as far as in the playoff itself. So they benefit in the regular season as well as in my playoff bracket for being able to kind of bypass some of the landmines, and they just catch fire at the right time. But yeah, Texas is ultimately too much. I have them winning it all this year.
All right. I've got, my 12, Georgia as a one-loss SEC champ at 1, 2, Ohio State, one-loss Big Ten champ at 2, 3, Clemson, one-loss ACC champ, 4, Oregon, two-loss runner-up, 5, Texas as a 3-loss runner-up, 6, Bama, two-loss team, 7, Notre Dame, one-loss team, 8, Penn State, two-loss team. So those home games. 9, LSU as a 3-loss team. 10, Michigan as a 2-loss team. 11, Kansas State, Big 12 champ as a 3-loss team. And then 12, I got Boise State again. I have no idea out of the group. There's so many teams you could choose. I feel like
They just
their
roll the
schedule
dice,
does line up
man.
nice, as does Liberty's. Liberty's schedule lines up nice. They're going to pick a team that's got a good record, like a 1 or 2 loss team. So I think schedule will factor into that. I'll go to the semis, Daniel. In the semifinal, I do have, just with the way it shakes out, I have Georgia and Texas playing for a semifinal, and I have Ohio State and Alabama playing for a semifinal game. I do have Texas against Alabama in the national championship game. Give me the Longhorns, man. I think Sark finally gets it done this year. Texas wins their first natty in 20 years, and it was a long time before that '05 one, too. So I think that you're going to start to get some of the stuff that was written about Kirby 2 years ago about is this the next run? Is this the next dynasty? I think you start to get those articles about Sark this year. So give me Texas to end and run it off. Daniel, we have our national champion. We'll send Texas a trophy in the mail for the preseason natty. Who's got your preseason Heisman Trophy?
Yeah, so the finalists I have are Garrett Nussmeier, LSU. I think he's going to light the world on fire as far as stats and everything like that. I got JJ Smith from Ohio State. I think he's going to be Biletnikoff Award winner. I think he's going to be just one of the guys that you're just pumped to see every game. He's going to get so much notoriety. And then I've got Drew Aller at Penn State, and I've got Oregon's quarterback Dante Moore. So those are my 4 that I think will be invited to New York, and I have Dante Moore taking it home. I think he's gonna be a guy that's because he's gonna have, again, the Heisman voters love a team that's ranked in the top 5 from start to finish, basically.
Yep.
I think their season's gonna allow for that, and then they're gonna get to that championship weekend. I just feel like he's going to have done enough and be kind of a household name at that point. So give me Dante Moore from Oregon, quarterback.
Quarterback on a top team. That's a great it's a great formula for a Heisman. We've got 3 the same here. So I've got JJ Smith, Garrett Nussmeier, Dante Moore as well. That was one that, I didn't know how high you were in Oregon. That's in my back pocket one of like, Dante Moore is going to be a Heisman Trophy contender this year. I've just been saving it. I don't have him winning. I also have Arch Manning getting to New York. I think he's going to live up to the hype this year. And I think he's going to lead Texas to a national championship this year. So he'll be there as well. Dude, give me a wide receiver again, man. I just think J.J. Smith's the best player in the country.
He is.
And he's going to play in enough big games where he just continues to make plays, man. It's just the catch radius he has, the acceleration he has. He's gotten thicker this offseason. I just like if whoever wins that quarterback job, if they're even a little bit competent, it's going to be pretty easy to get him the ball. He's already similar to Devontae Smith as far as like the formula for a non-quarterback. People already know his name and are high on him coming into the season.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like this come out of nowhere breakout star like it would have been last year. Now he's already, because look, bottom line is there's a lot of casual Heisman voters, but he's a name that's already a household name on a team that will be one of the 5 teams that win the national championship. So that's where I think he actually can win it over a quarterback, because it takes a special season. He's a special player. We're going to be wondering why in the world he has to come back and play another season of college football, because he's only a sophomore. Daniel, who is your coach of the year at the end of this year?
Yeah, I've been talking about, Oregon so much. I guess I'll just stick with that. I'm down to 2 guys. I think Matt Campbell is definitely someone to look at Iowa State if he leads them to a Big 12 championship, gets them in the playoff. But I think I'll go with Dan Lanning. I think that the year he'll put together with having to replace all that he lost last year and then have his team right there in the thick of it again. Give me Dan Lanning, Oregon.
Dan Lanning, Oregon. I've got Dabo Swinney. I think that Clemson, if they come out and run through the ACC like I think they will, I think that this sets up for, look, 12-1, everyone's like, Dabo's back. He did it his way. No portal. They developed in-house. They recruit. I just think it's just setting up for like a, I told you so Dabo season. So give me Dabo Swinney to win Coach of the Year. I'm trying to go back and look, Daniel. I want to say that I picked Dan Lanning to win Coach of the Year last year. And didn't he win one last year?
Dude, I'm the wrong guy to ask. I don't even know.
Let me see. And see if he won. Because my thing, because I'm like, I picked him because I had Georgia and Oregon playing for the title last year. I didn't think they'd go 13-0, but they did. That was a special team.
Marcus Freeman
a really good pick
won.
for Oregon. Yeah,
Marcus Freeman won most of them.
That makes sense.
Kurt Signetti won another one.
Was Notre Dame in your playoff?
Yeah,
they were in your playoff.
Yeah.
They're in the top 8.
They're number 9.
There you go. That's at number 9. Yeah, there you go. All right, man. Well, dude, we're next week. So here's the episode next week. If you've ever, written out if I could travel to one game every week of the season this year, what would it be? We're going to do a game draft. It'll be a great way to kind of preview what games are coming up this season. So we'll do a little snake order of, I'll go ahead and give Daniel first pick for week 1. So he'll pick like, this is the game I'm going to go to. I'll pick mine. We'll put a poll out and see who has the best list of games to attend during the season. So we'll have different games each week. That'll be a fun way to kind of look at the season. And then we're right back into our weekly podcast for the season. So we'll do our 4 quarters like we did last year. I like the format, Daniel. We did a weekly episode. So it will be every week. The first quarter will be one thing we learned. The second quarter will be 2 questions we have moving forward. Halftime, we'll take a look at the updated XPR, see where teams are ranked. Third quarter, a little change this year. We both did last year 3 games we're excited to watch that we were not picking. Chance to look at what are the games were out there. You're going to do that this year, Daniel. I'm going to do 3 uniform matchups we're excited to watch. So bring in some uniforms into the weekly pod this year, which I'm very excited about. And then our fourth quarter, 4 games against the spread. We'll pick against the spread for the top 4 games of the week that week. Look, I think we already picked our week 1 games, I think. I'm not going to tease that out yet. There's plenty of great week 1 games. We'll get there here in a couple weeks, Daniel. Pumped for the season, man.
Yeah, we've selected the games. We have not picked the games.
Yes,
we've selected which ones we're going to pick. I still gotta nail down, how I feel about each of these. So that'll be fun.
Oh, I literally have no idea yet. I'm gonna have to wait a couple weeks to make sure no injuries happen between now and then. But we'll keep an eye on that. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to follow us at the Extra Point Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And you can follow Daniel on X at Deep South Daniel. You can follow me on X at Jacob Karnes with a K. That'll do it for this edition of the Extra Point. He is Daniel. I am Jacob. See ya.